Life has a way of pulling our attention outward. From the moment we are young, we are told to look at what others are doing, how others are performing, how others are living. In school, we are ranked by grades, compared against classmates, and subtly pushed into a mindset where progress means being better than someone else. On social media, the cycle repeats endlessly. Every time we scroll, we see people flaunting their vacations, their cars, their fitness routines, their relationships. Without realizing it, our minds become programmed to measure our worth by comparison, to look outward before we ever dare to look inward. But here lies the greatest trap. Comparison drains us, blinds us to our own strengths, and keeps us locked in a cycle of dissatisfaction. Now imagine a different life. Imagine what truly happens when, instead of worrying about what the next person is achieving, you decide to invest every ounce of energy into yourself. Imagine waking up and not opening your phone to check who is ahead of you, but instead asking, what can I do today to become better than I was yesterday? That single shift, as small as it sounds, can completely alter the trajectory of your life, because when you focus on yourself, when you stop chasing after others, you begin to tap into a limitless source of energy, growth, and inner peace that comparison can never give you. At first, this shift feels difficult. After all, most people are addicted to comparison. It's comforting to measure yourself against someone else, because it gives you a false sense of direction. But focusing inward demands courage. It requires you to face yourself honestly, to admit your flaws, to embrace your strengths, and to create your own vision rather than borrowing someone else's. And yet, once you commit to this path, what unfolds is extraordinary. The first transformation that happens when you focus on yourself is mental clarity. Suddenly, the fog of jealousy, envy, and distraction begins to lift. You no longer waste hours asking, why is their life better than mine? Instead, you ask, what can I build with the time I have? That clarity leads to action, and action leads to progress. Progress builds confidence. Confidence fuels consistency, and consistency, compounded over weeks, months, and years, creates a life that is uniquely yours. But the change doesn't stop at personal progress. When you focus on yourself, your relationships improve too. Why? Because you are no longer projecting insecurity, resentment, or comparison onto others. You interact with people from a place of wholeness, not competition. This creates authenticity, which people feel and respect. Ironically, when you stop chasing validation from others, you often receive it naturally, because people are drawn to those who are centered, disciplined, and focused. Beyond relationships, focusing inward opens doors in your career, your finances, and your long-term goals. Employers, clients, and peers recognize discipline when they see it. They recognize someone who is consistent, reliable, and confident. Opportunities that once seemed out of reach begin to appear. Not because life suddenly gets easier, but because your focus, patience, and growth prepare you for them. Another incredible shift is peace of mind. When you stop obsessing over what everyone else is doing, you begin to appreciate your own timeline. You understand that life is not a race, and you are not behind. You are simply walking your path at your own pace. This peace makes you resilient to setbacks, patient with progress, and grateful for where you are. Over time, the benefits multiply. What starts as a small choice to focus inward instead of outward becomes a life-defining principle. You realize that the people you once envied were never your competition. The only real competition has always been the person staring back in the mirror. And the more you choose yourself, the stronger, wiser, and more unstoppable you become. That's the true power of focusing on yourself. It changes everything. It doesn't just make you more successful. It makes you free. One of the most dangerous and subtle forces in life is comparison. It creeps in unnoticed, shaping the way we view ourselves and others. Comparison tells us that our value lies in how well we stack up against the next person, whether it's money, looks, intelligence, or achievements. At first, comparison feels natural. After all, society rewards those at the top and highlights their stories. We're taught to celebrate the gold medalist, the billionaire entrepreneur, the celebrity with millions of followers. And while celebrating success isn't wrong, the hidden poison is this. When we constantly measure ourselves against others, we lose sight of who we are, what we want, and what truly matters to us. Comparison is endless. There will always be someone richer, smarter, more attractive, or more advanced in life than you. The moment you think you've caught up, someone else appears on the horizon, setting the bar higher. This cycle never ends, which is why comparison breeds dissatisfaction. You could be living a life many would envy, but if you spend your time staring at someone ahead of you, you'll feel like a failure. That's the trap. Comparison robs you of gratitude for what you already have. Social media has magnified this trap like never before. Every scroll becomes an invitation to measure yourself against carefully curated highlight reels. You don't see the failures, the tears, or the struggles. You see filtered vacations, smiling faces, luxury purchases, and announcements of success. Your brain begins to trick you into believing you're the only one struggling, while everyone else has life figured out. In reality, that's far from the truth. Everyone has battles hidden behind the screen, but comparison blinds us from seeing it. When you live in this state, you drain yourself. Instead of using your energy to build your own life, you waste it by obsessing over the lives of others. Instead of planting seeds in your garden, you spend all your time peeking over the fence, jealous of how green someone else's grass looks. And the cruel irony is this: while you're staring at them, your own garden withers. This is why the shift toward self-focus is so liberating. The moment you decide to stop comparing and start investing inward, you take back your power. Suddenly, instead of spending an hour scrolling and wishing, you spend an hour working out, learning, building, or reflecting. Instead of asking, "Why don't I have what they have?" you ask, "What can I do today to move closer to my vision?" This is the essence of self-focus, redirecting your energy away from envy and into action. As you begin this shift, the first thing you'll notice is relief. It feels like putting down a heavy backpack you didn't even realize you were carrying. Constant comparison is exhausting. It creates stress, anxiety, and insecurity. When you free yourself from it, your mind quiets. You begin to hear your own thoughts clearly. You begin to feel more present in your own life. This peace of mind alone is worth the effort, because from peace comes clarity, and from clarity comes progress. The second transformation is progress that actually matters. Think about it. When you're focused on others, you often chase goals that aren't even yours. You want a certain car, house, or lifestyle not because it truly fulfills you, but because you saw someone else with it. But when you turn inward, you ask yourself, what do I actually want? This simple question is powerful, because many people go their whole lives without answering it. They climb ladders only to discover they were leaning against the wrong wall. By focusing on yourself, you begin to align your actions with your true values, not someone else's. The third change is confidence. Confidence doesn't come from beating others. It comes from proving to yourself that you are capable of growth. When you look inward and track your own progress, whether that's improving your fitness, developing a skill, saving money, or healing emotionally, you start to trust yourself. You see evidence that your efforts create results. That trust builds confidence, and confidence makes you unstoppable. Because once you realize you can rely on yourself, you stop worrying about whether others are ahead or behind. You know that you are on your own path, and that's enough. Another benefit of focusing inward is freedom. The more you invest in yourself, the less you need validation from others. You don't need likes, applause, or approval to feel good. You know your worth because you see it reflected in your growth, your discipline, and your peace of mind. This freedom is rare in today's world, but it's priceless. It allows you to live authentically, without bending yourself to fit trends, expectations, or comparisons. Ironically, when you reach this point of freedom, people begin to notice you more. Why? Because authenticity is magnetic. When you're focused on yourself, improving quietly, and walking your own path, others can feel your energy. You don't need to announce your growth. It shows in your actions, your confidence, and your presence. And people are drawn to that. Opportunities, friendships, and partnerships naturally flow to those who radiate self-focus and inner peace. Most importantly, focusing on yourself allows you to create a legacy. When you spend your life chasing others, you never leave your own mark. You simply become a shadow, an imitator, always one step behind. But when you commit to your own path, you build something unique, whether that's a career, a family, a creative project, or a personal philosophy. You leave behind something that is truly yours, not a copy of someone else's life. The truth is, comparison will always be tempting. It's human nature to look around and measure. But the key is to recognize the trap and choose differently. Every time you catch yourself slipping into envy, redirect that energy inward. Ask, How can I use this moment to improve myself? Over time, this habit transforms not just your mindset, but your entire life. Because at the end of the day, the only person you're truly in competition with is the person you were yesterday. That's the beauty of self-focus. It turns life from a race into a journey. And when you embrace that journey, you discover that peace, progress, and fulfillment were never out there in someone else's life. They were within you all along. When you focus on yourself, one of the first inner shifts you notice is the slow but steady growth of self-belief. For many people, confidence seems like a mysterious quality that some are simply born with. But in reality, confidence is not inherited, it's built. It's the result of proving to yourself, day after day, that you can follow through on your commitments. And the only way you get to that point is by focusing inward, not outward. Consider this. When you're obsessed with what others are doing, you measure your worth by their progress. If they are ahead, you feel small. If they stumble, you feel momentarily bigger. But notice how fragile that system is. You're always at the mercy of someone else's journey. Your emotions swing like a pendulum, controlled by comparisons that you cannot influence. In contrast, when you focus on yourself, you shift from being reactive to proactive. You no longer ask, "Where are they?" Instead, you ask, "Where am I? What steps can I take today?" That simple change creates stability, because you're measuring against yourself, not the world. Self-belief grows in small, often invisible ways. It's not built in one dramatic leap, but in countless tiny victories. When you say you'll wake up early, and you actually do, your belief strengthens. When you commit to a workout and finish it, your belief strengthens. When you save money, study consistently, or simply keep a promise to yourself, your belief strengthens. Over time, these seemingly small actions compound, and suddenly you look back and realize you've become someone you can trust. And that trust in yourself is the foundation of unshakable confidence. But the benefits don't stop there. As you focus inward and keep your promises, something else emerges: mental clarity. Life begins to feel less noisy, less chaotic. Why? Because much of mental clutter comes from comparison and distraction. When you spend hours fixated on other people, you fill your mind with conflicting goals, endless what-ifs, and unrealistic timelines. But when you stay centered on your own path, you cut through the noise. Your priorities sharpen. You know what matters and what doesn't. You stop trying to chase everything and instead give your energy to the few things that truly align with your values. Mental clarity also brings emotional balance. When you're not comparing yourself to others every minute, your mood stabilizes. You're no longer thrown into jealousy when someone else succeeds, nor do you feel worthless when you're behind. Instead, you can celebrate others while staying focused on your own progress. This balance reduces anxiety and increases contentment. You begin to experience what many people spend their whole lives searching for: peace of mind. And here's the most powerful part: clarity and belief together create momentum. Think of your life like a wheel. When you're distracted by others, the wheel moves slowly, stuttering forward with every push. But when you focus inward, self-belief gives you the strength to push harder, and clarity keeps the wheel aligned in the right direction. With each push, the wheel turns faster and smoother. Momentum builds. Suddenly, growth that once felt impossible becomes natural, almost automatic. You don't just achieve progress, you accelerate it. Momentum is a silent multiplier. At first, focusing on yourself feels like hard work with little reward. You're training your mind to stop comparing, building habits, keeping promises, and trying to stay consistent. It's easy to doubt whether it's worth it, but momentum works in the background. Each effort adds up, stacking quietly until one day the results are undeniable. Your body looks different, your bank account feels stronger, your skills are sharper, your mindset is calmer. And the people who once seemed so far ahead, you realize you've caught up not by chasing them, but by running your own race. What's even more surprising is how focusing on yourself reshapes your relationships. Many people fear that self-focus is selfish, that prioritizing themselves means neglecting others, but the opposite is true. When you take care of your growth, you show up better for those around you. You bring more patience, wisdom, and stability to your family, friends, and colleagues. You no longer drain them with insecurity or jealousy because you're grounded in your own progress. Instead, you become a source of inspiration, showing them what it looks like to take ownership of life. In this way, self-focus doesn't isolate you, it deepens your impact. This journey also reveals another truth. Success is not a single destination, but a daily practice. By focusing on yourself, you stop waiting for some grand moment where everything changes. You realize that success is built in the daily grind, in the hours no one sees, in the quiet moments of discipline, in the consistent pursuit of your own goals. This realization is freeing, because it removes the illusion that you need to catch up or beat someone else. Instead, you recognize that your only responsibility is to show up for yourself each day. And that brings us to one of the deepest lessons of all, the beauty of being present. Comparison pulls you out of the moment. It makes you obsess about where you should be, instead of appreciating where you are. But self-focus anchors you in the present. You begin to notice your own growth in real time. You feel proud of small wins. You appreciate your progress, even if it's not perfect. You stop rushing towards someone else's future and start living fully in your own today. In that presence, you find joy, not the fleeting joy of beating someone else, but the steady joy of becoming more of who you are meant to be. That joy is lasting, because it's not dependent on external validation. It comes from within. It comes from knowing that you are walking your own path, at your own pace, and that alone is enough. So what really happens when you focus on yourself instead of others? You build self-belief brick by brick. You clear away the noise that once clouded your vision. You gain momentum that propels you further than comparison ever could. And you discover a deeper sense of peace, clarity, and fulfillment than you thought possible. This is the reward of self-focus. Not only does it change how you see yourself, it changes how you experience life itself.